Welcome back to the channel. In today's video it's our team selection ahead of the mini double game week 19. Starting off in goal is Kepa Arrizabalaga. I'm recording this video prior to game week 18, so it's still unknown how all players have performed. Kepa picked up a clean sheet and 9 FPL points in the game against Bournemouth, and for now at least, it looks like he may be nailed as Chelsea's first choice keeper. On paper you'd have to say this isn't the easiest double game week against both Man City and Fulham, but save points, a clean sheet, or even the off chance of facing a penalty make Kepa a great pick. First up in defence is Perraud for Southampton's home game against Nottingham Forest. Although the Saints are sitting rock bottom of the table, Forest have what can only be described as an atrocious away record this season, drawing 2 and losing 6, whilst only scoring a single goal and conceding 22. Perraud had a disappointing game to begin with following the restart against Brighton, but with a good chance of a clean sheet in this one and some attacking threat, I feel he's a differential I just have to play. Joining him is Mr. Reliable Kieran Trippier for the away match against Arsenal. I've watched both Arsenal and Newcastle closely this season and have to say this game could genuinely go either way. Both teams have solid defences and attacks, and it will be interesting to see who gets the better of who. As always, Trippier has multiple avenues to points, even if he were to concede. For that reason, there's no way I'm leaving him on the bench. The final player in the 3-man defence is Dan Burn. I'm hedging my bets this week and going all in on Newcastle getting a result against Arsenal. I honestly believe that the absence of Gabriel Jesus will be a huge miss for Arsenal in this match, and Newcastle will have a good chance of shutting them out. I'm a fantasy manager who dislikes the idea of having defenders and attackers playing against each other in my team, so for that reason I've decided to go for Burn over Gabriel in defence this week and hope for the best. First up in midfield we're going with the Newcastle triple up, and it's Almiron against Arsenal. I have to make some real decisions this week, as this spot either goes to Almiron or Martinelli. The main reason why I've decided on Almiron is because I think he's looked more of a direct attacking threat over Martinelli since the Premier League restarted. Against West Ham, you'd have to say that Martinelli was fortunate to get a goal. Apart from that single chance, he barely got into any advanced attacking positions, and I think the loss of Jesus hasn't helped with his positioning. Joining Almiron is Andreas Pereira for Fulham's double game week against Leicester and Chelsea. Andreas seems to be nailed, playing a fairly advanced midfield role, taking set pieces and getting 85 to 90 minutes per game in Fulham's starting 11. For this reason, I think it's sensible to start Andreas in the team and see how he gets on. I'm not expecting too much from him, but even with a single assist he could end the game week on 7 to 8 points, which probably outscores my bench players this week. Next up is Salah for Liverpool's away game against Brentford. Ever since Klopp moved Salah further up the pitch, he started performing like a completely different player than the asset many of us owned at the beginning of the season. While Liverpool have been relatively poor defensively, they're creating multiple opportunities going forward, and Salah is almost always involved. He's a debatably good captain option this week, as Brentford have leaked a fair few goals this season, and of course Salah has penalties. Finally, to make the 4-man midfield is De Bruyne for City's away match versus Chelsea. Although De Bruyne only scored 2 points against Leeds in game week 17, he could have easily had a couple of returns with some key passes through to the likes of Haaland, Mahrez and Grealish. When watching City, it's obvious just how important De Bruyne is to them when creating goal scoring opportunities. Hopefully he picks up a return or two against a fairly underwhelming Chelsea. The first player up front for us this week is the one who I'm likely to replace, and it's Anthony Martial for United's home match against Bournemouth. It's likely that from my 2 free transfers, I use one of them this week and do a straight swap from Martial to Mitrovic. Mitrovic has a double game week, and even though his following fixtures are tough, he's capable of grabbing a goal against practically any opponent in the league. On the other hand, Martial seems to be getting 60 minutes per game. He's often injury prone, and his fixtures are turning following Bournemouth. Next up is of course Erling Haaland against Chelsea. Chelsea haven't been performing that well defensively this season, and Haaland has already passed 20 goals in the Premier League. Although there are a few decent captain options with double game weeks this week, you can argue that Haaland is a better choice purely due to his consistency when it comes to returning FPL points. I think for me this week it's a toss-up between Salah and Haaland as to who gets the armband. The final man to make the team this week is Che Adams for Southampton. I know this pick is likely not to the taste of many fantasy managers, but as I mentioned earlier, Nottingham Forest's away stats have been dreadful so far, and Southampton desperately need to win in this fixture to climb off the bottom of the table. I do have the opportunity this week to transfer out Adams and another player to bring in Mitrovic, but something tells me I'd rather make a single move and have the 2 free transfers going into the double game week 20. Our bench this week is fairly strong and it's Ward, Martinelli, Gabriel and Patterson. I'm really torn this week as to whether to play or bench the Arsenal duo, but I honestly see a higher chance of Newcastle shutting Arsenal out than Arsenal shutting Newcastle out. Newcastle's high press almost always seems to cause mistakes from their opposition's defence, and we'll have to wait to see if that scenario plays out in this one. I haven't made up my mind on captaincy this week, but I think I'm going to go with Mo Salah against Brentford. I'm not overly happy with Liverpool being the first match of the game week, because if Salah were to blank, it's likely that we'll lose rank. But I honestly can't see another option who I think is better this week. Of course there's the option of captaining Mitrovic if I bring him in this week, but that's definitely another possibility and a decision I'll have to be making just before the deadline. I understand this team doesn't have many double game weekers in it. The reason for that is because I don't want to be holding many Chelsea or Fulham players past this game week, and believe there's a high chance of rotation, especially with the Chelsea players. So that's this week's team selection. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments section, and as always, best of luck to you all for the upcoming game week.